60-minute drive for a 60-minute game. After all the miles we've traveled, we're almost there. After all the hours we've worked, one more can make us legends. After all
Play it loud for the Fighting Irish fans. The Fighting Irish are going to be playing for the national title for the first time in over a decade. Congratulations, Greg and the Fighting Irish Nation. What can you say? This is a heck of a game, guys. This is Jeff Barnes, Bill Carroll, Greg Rector, all in the house. Let's talk about this semifinal matchup that was every bit of what everybody wanted to see.
This was just a fantastic game. I mean, when Knapp went down in that first half and the way Penn State's defense was handling the offensive line for the Irish, I was scared. And then Leonard, of course, goes into the medical tent. Steve Angeli came out there and just threw that football masterfully, just like he did last year in the Sun Bowl game. And wow, this whole second half was just incredible, though. Absolutely incredible football.
Indeed. Bill, what are your thoughts? You're muted, Bill.
There we go. Coming to two things. Two things jumped out to me. And we talked about Coach Kolnicki and the way that he had sort of freed up Drew Aller. And I was a little surprised they didn't find a way to try to create some deep shots down the field. I think both defenses were sort of there for that because they were so concerned with stopping the run, which makes sense, right? Which, I mean, that's what I'd be concerned about if I were either one of those defenses. And, of course, initially, especially in the first half, they completely throttled the Notre Dame run, especially they had 15 yards rushing at the half. And then you saw right in that first drive, they made some adjustments. And, frankly, both their running backs, but especially
Jeremiah
Love just decided I am not going to look for opportunities to bounce or cut back. I'm going to accelerate to impact. And then, you know, if something opens up, I'll head towards it. But he just decided I'm going to just sort of hard head my way into yards. And for whatever reason, they seemed not to be able to handle that somewhat slight adjustment that Notre Dame made to their rushing attack. Both these teams had opportunities to make more plays, like to make this a different kind of game. And both of them missed on some of those opportunities. So there's plenty of ways to look at it where you can say, oh, you know, if we just done this or we just done that. But you saw what a solid individual that both Riley Leonard and, of course, Marcus Freeman are. Riley Leonard is not a spectacular quarterback, right? And nothing about him says, oh, man, this guy's great, right? There's nothing about him that makes you think, I can't believe what a great prospect he is at the next level, things like that. But he is a incredibly mentally and physically tough individual. Obviously, there was concern that he may have suffered a concussion. He did stagger a little bit. We got that hit late in the first half. And as pointed out, I was a little surprised that they didn't. It's like they hadn't watched tape of Angeli. I don't think I understand. He doesn't have much of an arm, right? He's got quick brain and quick feet, and he gets the ball out quickly. But if they were just to take away everything underneath and say, dare him to beat them deep, he wouldn't have been able to. He doesn't have really much of an arm. But they seem not to be familiar with Angeli. And so they were just letting him have his way in those little, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yard passes. And that 3 points, I mean, they sort of handed to Notre Dame towards the end, right? I mean, that's the difference, right? 3 points. It was a 3-point game. So I think those are the things that sort of jumped out to me, that they weren't very aggressive for some reason. When Angeli was out there, instead of saying we're gonna, just sit on everything underneath and, we're gonna sit in man free, take away everything underneath, and just bring pressure. Instead, they sort of sat back, which I don't know. That would be one of the things I question the most about what they did on defense, because once again, their defense had been the story of the first part of the game. So those things stuck out to me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And Kevin, you pop that bottle and you say happy birthday to Marcus Freeman. Tomorrow is his 39th birthday, and he just got himself a trip to the national championship game, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yep, that it is.
Yeah, I'll tell you this much. We expected a good showing by both defenses. We got that. I was shocked when Riley Leonard came back. When they said he was asymptomatic, they were going to let him come back into the game. I was, oh, wow. The way he left the field, I didn't think he was coming back. I thought it was Steve Angeli's show the rest of the night. I must say, the overall physicality of Penn State showed in the first half. They were really able to dominate the line of scrimmage in that matchup. In the second half, the worm kind of turned. And it was part of it was Notre Dame's backs just said, let's get what we get. We're not looking for the home run. Let's just get what we get. That kind of changed it up, because when they were looking for the home run, Penn State was allowed to rally to the ball and make plays in the backfield and shoot gaps and do all of that stuff. Not so much when those guys who have some decent speed, especially Love, not so much Price. Price is more of a pounder. He's more of a grinder.
Yeah.
But, you let Price get going on you, he hurts you. But you get him at the backfield, you can slow him down. Love, on the other hand, is a guy that can beat you to the hole. And once he gets accelerated, it's hard to stop him. And I think that's what we started to see was, I'm not going to wait anymore. I'm just going to go get what I get. And and that's what it was. He makes athletic plays. We've seen the hurdle again. I think the most impressive run was the run on the goal line for the touchdown, where he gets hit in the backfield, fights to the line of scrimmage, keeps fighting, and finds his way into the end zone on a play where he's taking on their best defensive player.
That's right. He took on Mr. Carter, and he beat Mr. Carter.
Absolutely. So it was really, I must say, it was really intriguing to see the second half the way it went. I think Notre Dame wised up and said, you know what, let's just utilize the quick game. It's working for us. We have the guys. They don't have a lot of burners, okay? They don't have guys that consistently challenge you 40, 50 yards down the field. However, you hit those guys on quick slants, the grade houses. You hit them on the bubble screens. You hit them on all that stuff. When they get the ball quick and can make a decision with their feet, they're a different kind of receiver. So I think they finally realized, let's go back to our strength, use the quick game in the second half, use the running game, and allow Riley Leonard to do certain things with his legs from time to time. And I think that was the best thing they did. They should have done that in the first half. They didn't. They came to that in the second half, and that's what kind of got the offense moving. Because there were times, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you had to worry when they had the lead, they gave it back, they threw the interception, and Penn State scored again. You were worried that they could go down there and match that score because they didn't show that in the first half. They were struggling. Okay, so they had that little hot start to the second half, and you had to worry a little bit, but they figured it out. So kudos to them. Don, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me back, man. It was fun to watch. Have second part of the show. It's good to be back on, man. Thank you, guys.
So, what was your thoughts on this game overall?
Oh man, what a turn of events! That was a wild game. I didn't expect it to be like a shootout really in the second half. It was fun just because we had a lot of excitement and a lot of energy in the second half, and then the first half was the meat and potatoes, and defense and offensive line. And man, it's a lot to say about that. I mean, I just talked on the show 3-4 hours ago. I said Drew Aller, right? He didn't show up. He threw the interception at the end. They ran the ball well. They have 200-yard rushers. They both ran for over 80. One had 3 touchdowns. Tyler Warren played pretty good. I mean, they limited him for sure. He still played good. The defense came through when it mattered at the end. They got 8 rushes on the quarterback. They knocked one out. He came back in. They got 2 interceptions. Penn State did everything they're supposed to do to win, except Drew Aller playing good. So that's the reason they lost, point blank to me. We could talk about a lot of different stuff. At the end of the day, they gave up a big play, Cam Miller, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, he threw that pick. That's what we're going to remember. Simple as that. I mean, I feel bad for Drew because I love the kid. Bill knows. I mean, I interview a lot of recruits, man. He's probably one of the best ones I've talked to his junior year. But I feel bad for him, personally. But, I mean, you just can't make that throw. It's tough. I mean, it comes down to more than that, obviously. But, I mean, that's what we're going to remember. And that's kind of like what it came down to. I like the aggressiveness that they had all game. Me and Bill were talking about how non-vanilla they were and how they were mixing up and they were a little bit more aggressive. And I don't think that was you got to go for it and try to score and get that field goal down there, with those timeouts. That's just not a good throw. That's not James Franklin's fault. Like, right. I mean, it's just I was literally just talking about Drew Aller throwing across his body in the middle of the field. That's what he did. I mean, that's what he did. So that's tough. Riley Leonard came up big, all those 3rd and shorts. He's going to run the ball. You still couldn't stop him. I mean, like I said, their defense got pressure, man. I mean, that last drive when I thought Notre Dame was going to score the first time when they got the ball back, I thought the game was – I was like, yeah, Mitchell, they're about to kick a field goal with Jeter. And, they never got to a field goal because they got pressured and got sacked a couple of times or whatever. And then Penn State gets the ball. There's a pick, gives it right back to him immediately pretty much. So – that was a fun game. I wasn't expecting to be like that, but man, shout out to Notre Dame. Shout out to Coach Marcus Freeman. Somebody said when I got on the show it was his birthday tomorrow. Well, that's that's the biggest Notre Dame win, man, since the national championship. And they got one more to go. I wasn't alive for that championship, so
I was.
Yeah, you guys all were. I wasn't, but I almost was born. Not quite yet. I wasn't really thought of probably yet. I think it was 88.
88,
and then I was alive. Yeah. I was alive 11 years earlier when Joe Montana led them to their.
I mean, this is. I mean,
I was alive for that. I didn't remember it.
No, you were too young.
Yeah,
this is huge, man. I'm happy for Riley, and all these seniors and these guys that have stuck around. Everybody on this program, Coach Freeman, man, love Coach Freeman. I was just talking about how good Coach Freeman was. I know I gave him hell for losing that game in Illinois, but I obviously we talked about all 4 of these coaches being good, and they coached their ass off, the whole staff. Everybody played good. They did what they needed to do. It was such a Riley Leonard game where he threw a couple picks and shout out to Steve Angeli too for holding it down while he was out, because that was a big drive to get some momentum going in at halftime, because it was 10-0, all Penn State momentum. I was looking at the little FPI predictor, whatever. It was like 79% Penn State at the time when they were up 10-0, and then they took care of business. So that's I mean, I'm not a Penn State fan at all, man, but that was a heartbreaker to lose that, because I feel like they really they had no business losing that game to me. But Notre Dame just scratched and clawed and did what they needed to do to win, like they always do. And that's a hell. I mean, I'm impressed by that coaching staff, man, and those leaders. Like, for them to hang in that game and fight and just make every single play on defense they needed to make. And then Riley Leonard at the end to get him down there. And then that kicker, Jeter, got to be clutch with that name, Jeter, right? But, like, he just did what he needed to do. And they won. And it's going to be a tough out, man. Yeah, Ohio State and Texas are great, but it's going to be tough to beat this team. They don't beat themselves, so they're not going to get blown out. So I don't care who they play. It's going to be tough. This team is just – that's a damn good football team. If they win the national championship, I would not be surprised at all after tonight. They impressed the hell out of me tonight. The Georgia game, I was impressed, but this was different to me. No excuse, no – I don't have my quarterback, no this and that. Like, no, the disaster that happened in New Orleans with like, no excuse. Like, went to Miami, beat Penn State, took care of business. So impressed by Notre Dame for sure.
You're right. Best on best. And that's all you could ask for come playoff time.
Yeah. That was a classic, man. That was an instant classic right there. I didn't expect it to be that. I mean, I knew it would be close, but just because it's close doesn't mean it's a classic, right? But that was a classic. That was I want to watch that again.
Yep.
And Jeremiah Love his vertical leap over that, I mean, that was just amazing to see him go up that high in the air with his injured right knee, and he still went up that high in the air. That was amazing.
Yeah, it was. That was a good game. Jeremiah Love made some play. Everybody just made those big plays, man.
Right.
Your boy Nias Williams, he had a couple,
Yeah, he had some nice catches.
big
only had
catch,
two carries, but I mean, he had 5 catches. So, I mean,
which is what I had said before we went up here earlier. Aeneas Williams is a very, very good back as well in that running back room for the Fighting Irish, and those catches were great that he had tonight. He was just great, and they found Greathouse instead of just searching for Faison.
Yeah.
Again, I was getting tired of seeing all these throws just go to Faison. Well, no, you had to get the ball out to the other receivers as well.
Right. Yeah. When you use
that.
Yeah. Evans and Faison sometimes in other games, seem to be the only receivers that he seemed to trust. And it was good to see him give a chance to other receivers. And that's the thing that I think was also impressive. Williams made at least 1 or 2 catches that I'm convinced if he doesn't make those plays, they don't win this game. I mean, the wheel route, particularly that big wheel route. And once again, I've criticized, the passing game of Notre Dame in the past, and at times it was criticizable. At times it didn't look great. But once again, I said there'll be 3 or 4 big shots that somebody needs to hit on, and Notre Dame hit on just enough of the deep shots to flip the field, to put them in position to score.
Yeah, Bill, I remember you saying that to me and Josh. I know Josh could not make it because he's got a screaming, pooping baby at home.
Yes, correct. Yes.
But that's 3 weeks old. Shout out Josh. But yeah, we picked it. I mean, Penn State didn't have a receiver have a catch, man. That's just you can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yep.
You can't win like that, dude. You can't only throw the tight ends and running backs the whole game.
Yep.
They didn't. I mean, I don't know. You guys are better at stats than me, man. But a team in the football playoffs with no catches to their receivers, that's never happened, right? Like ever. It's had to be.
I mean, unless you want
I know the playoffs is short, but like a
Right.
big bowl game like this where no receivers at all get a catch, like come on. Like I'm not counting the tight ends and running backs. You gotta have a receiver catch the freaking football, dude. Like,
well, no, they had Dawkins, Dinkins, had a couple of grabs.
Yeah, Dinkins the tight end though, right?
Reynolds had a grab,
and he's a tight end as well.
Yeah, they're all tight ends though.
Those are all tight ends.
Yeah. So no receivers. You're right.
Yeah, I mean that's insane, dude. Like I don't care who you are. Like I mean none. Like even Army and Navy. Like Army's receiver had some catches. Like this,
right.
And I know, like this is the Final Four like of a college football playoff, and you're no catches. Like I mean you just can't win that way, man. Like I mean shout out to Notre Dame. They shut them down. Like they had. I mean and Drew Aller missed.
Yes,
he missed on. He got saved too. Like I mean, he played worse than like the stat line even showed, and he played bad. Like, but like obviously, like we all just watched the game. Like he got saved by the PI, and he got saved by the other out of bounds interception.
Yeah.
And like that end of the game was just a disaster. And then once he threw that pick, it was over. Like when they had that 8 seconds, he was checked out. Like it's bad. Like I mean, you just got to have a receiver catch the ball. I know that they had tight ends and running backs catch it, but that's not good enough, man. And he was 12 of 23 too, so it's not like he didn't really. He's only 135 yards, and they didn't. I feel like Franklin didn't really trust him at the end. Well, I guess he did trust him because he let him make that throw. But
yeah,
that he probably
he shouldn't have trusted him.
Please don't make that throw. Like that's the one throw like don't make, and he's still. And I watched the play again. I was like, damn, did he really? He almost made it, but it's like, why even try to throw that?
So,
right.
Yeah.
It was close.
How the game went. I think we talked about it. He only threw 23 times, but most of those times were third downs where he had to throw the football in the half situations, et cetera, et cetera. But I think James Franklin the way they came out in the first half, running the football, was thinking we could run the football and control this game. We don't have to go out there and make those throws. And he only let him do it in certain situations because even when he did complete a couple, he went right back to the running game. So I think that's where we're looking at when it comes to how they called this game. It was lean on the run. Let's make the opportunistic throw. Let's throw the ball when we have to. And I think that's one reason why his attempts were so low. And he got bailed out on the 2 interceptions. And then there was the fatal one at the end. So I just think that, the way that they wanted to play this game kept it closer than it should have been. If that was the case, if they really wanted to blow this game out, they would have had him throw the ball a lot more. Because I think that was the one way you could really challenge Notre Dame is the secondary. Because you watched the Georgia game, Georgia tried to run the ball and they couldn't get it done, but they were able to hit some big plays down the field with Gunnar Stockton. So I think, they were thinking we could possibly do that, but if we're coming out having this early success on the ground, and I question some of that success with some of the missed holds that we saw them calling out on TV. And it's funny, that's the same Georgia crew I complained about last week. So yeah, go figure. But nevertheless,
tonight,
I think that the running game, they tried to lean on it, but when you're in a situation now, you're tied up, you got to use what's best to get you to win. If they believed throwing the ball was going to get it done, they should have done it and not waited to that situation.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jeff.
Exactly.
Exactly.
This crew did a good job tonight because that was an obvious pass interference call on the play that Kaiser had made the interception off of Valor. That was a clear pass interference call, and then the other one against Durant, that was clearly hands to the face. They did a good job tonight.
I won't say that because I watched even an analyst calling it out, the 3 holds they missed on back-to-back plays. I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah,
I think they were solid. They missed a couple, but they for the most part did a okay job. I won't say good, but solid.
It was okay. It was okay. It was not.
Yeah, I agree with Greg.
Yeah, they weren't egregious.
Yeah,
we see some egregious stuff. That's just the coach in me. I like consistent. If you're going to sit there and call the pass interference, I want to see the holds called too. When a guy is getting grabbed inside his collar and you don't call it, it's like, what are we waiting to throw the flag for? So, and like I said, the fact that they're calling it out on TV and showing a replay 3 times in a row, so I'm like, oh, yeah, that is holding. Well, there's 3 guys looking at the play that don't believe that it was. That's the problem. So, but nevertheless, guys, give me one play that you think, each of you give me one play that you think kind of was the bigger play that kind of swung the game in Notre Dame's way.
Well, everyone's going to mention
this out in your mind.
Everyone's going to mention the interception, but I'm going to go back to that.
I'm not.
going to go back, which makes sense, but I'm going to go back to that wheel route to Aeneas Williams. They had shown no ability to throw the ball deep to that point. 0, none. They had not done it. They had not really tried it even, right? It looked like they weren't going to, in fact, try to throw the ball deep to that point. I don't think they tried a ball more than 12 yards down the field to that point in the game. Even tried it, even attempted it. And I think by doing it and doing it successfully, that forced, at least to some extent, Penn State to at least consider that they might have to worry about defending the pass down the field because they had not even had to consider it before that point. And not that defanged the snake by any stretch of the imagination. They still were able to get pressure. They still were able to get some things done up front, but it loosened up some things for them in the run game and loosened up some other things for them in the underneath passing game once they at least showed, right? It's like if you're a fireballer, but you show someone your curveball, right, on a 3-2, where they aren't expecting it. Now they have to guard against a curveball. Same thing, right? Now they have to at least consider that you might throw the ball down the field. So I'll pick that.
Greg?
The first carry by Jeremiah Love in the second half, when he stopped searching for a lane to run through, that was it. That was the game right there.
Good call. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my two were just at the end. The pick that Drew threw, and then the 3rd and 3 when he threw it to Greathouse, because that gave Mitchell Evans. I mean, I don't think Mitchell might have missed that field goal if they didn't get that. Or not Mitchell, excuse me. Well, yeah, Jeter, Mitchell Jeter. Yeah, he might have missed that if I was thinking about Mitchell Evans. Mitchell Jeter would have. I'm not gonna say he would have missed it. He might have made it, but I think it made it a lot easier for him to make that field goal because they got to move the ball to the middle for him and everything, or whatever hash he wanted to, wherever he wanted the ball, or whatever. So if, like, I mean, hypothetically, if he drops that or Riley doesn't make that throw, that's gonna be a big change. He might have missed that field goal. It might be still playing. It might be in overtime or something or whatever. But those two plays, I mean, all the stuff you guys mentioned is true too. But I mean, or I can go to the Cam Miller falling, the Greathouse. That big play was huge too. That was not expecting that because I like Cam Miller a lot. But man,
you just stole my thunder because that was the play I thought changed it all. And the reason being, Penn State had just gone back up. They just took the lead back, and the question was, could Notre Dame hit back one more time? If they don't hit that pass, I don't think it gets done. But be able to do it in a big play like that, I thought took a lot of wind out of Penn State sails. And I know for a fact that we got live footage of Greg when Greathouse was scoring.
That's funny. I like
that. That is not me.
What a classic movie.
Yeah. So, I think that was the big, because once again, I've been in those situations where you're going back and forth. You finally get the lead back from the team, and you think you got them down. They're not, they haven't been the most prolific offense all night, and then they go and hit you with a big play score like that.
Yep.
That just makes you go, what do we got to do to put these guys away? You know what I mean? And I think that kind of put that kind of doubt in Penn State's mind. That last drive where they were driving, they got the stop, and then, the interception in the middle of the field had to be like the true nail in the coffin. What do we got to do to put Notre Dame away? But I think even at that point, they were thinking, okay, if we can't get a drive, at least we're going into overtime, and we can finally we could win this in overtime. But the interception, that had to have been, come on. Seriously? And there had to have been doubt because that was no longer the same defense that shut them down in the first half. Not after that Greathouse catch. They were grasping at big plays. They were making big plays in the first half. They were grasping for them late in that game. So I think that was the biggest play. It's funny, me and you on the same wavelength with that, Don, when you said that. Because that was exactly what I was thinking, was the Greathouse.
Joe Rudolph, the offensive line coach for Notre Dame as well. He did an outstanding job with Knapp going out and having to put Usuga in there at right guard, who had been the previous anointed left tackle before he had his pec injury. He went in and played right guard that second half because Spiller went down.
Right.
I mean, these guys just don't care who goes down.
Right.
They don't care who's not in the lineup.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And that's how it's supposed to be, right? You're supposed to build your offensive line in such a way that you've got at least two guys who can play almost any position on the line, right? That's how you're, at least, well, especially in the NFL, you have to, because you can only carry 7 or 8 actives into a game.
Yeah.
Now in college, you don't have, not quite as tight, but I love how they had 2 or 3 guys playing quote unquote out of position who managed to play extremely well. The offensive line of Notre Dame made some money in that second half. Some of those guys are going to be, I mean, they would have been drafted anyway, but I think they may have helped themselves. They are a solid bunch. And, though the Joe Moore award obviously went to the Black Knights of the Hudson, in terms of NFL prospects, that is a much more highly regarded offensive line, looking at the next level, while probably 0% of the guys who are at at West Point are going to even be invited to an NFL camp. So if the Joe Moore Award was picked by NFL scouts, it probably would have gone to a very different team. But yeah, that Notre Dame offensive line impressed me as well, because you saw them getting whipped early, just flat out whipped early in the game, right? And the running backs, as was pointed out, kind of made it worse by like hunting and pecking, as opposed to hitting it up in there and seeing what you can get. And once so the two changes, one was forced upon them, right? They had to shuffle the offensive line because people got hurt. But I think that ended up helping them to a certain extent. And then the other thing was, once again, the running backs just saying, you know what, I'm not looking for it. I'm not going to try to create. I'm just going to throw my body into the line as quickly and as violently as possible. And then if I see something flash open, I might move towards it, but I'm not waiting for anything. That made a difference.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they turned it around in the second half for sure, because like they were getting whipped. And I mean, there was a few plays they got whipped in the second half too, but they definitely tightened up. And Sutton and Carter and Nazard and those guys up front, they're not deep, I feel like, at Penn State, but they have a really good defensive line and edge rushers. And for Notre Dame to kind of control those guys and make Drew Aller feel uncomfortable in that second half was huge. You know what I mean? I just watching the press conference right now with Aller, Singleton, and James Franklin. Man, that's rough.
Yeah.
Drew Aller just looks like, please. I know you're gonna ask me about the interception. Go ahead and do it, because
right.
He just said
not ask about it.
Well, he said he got stuck between throwing it in the dirt and throwing it. I'm like, dude, that's not.
And
I wouldn't have even said that. Like, I mean, honestly, just because.
Right. That's
you
why
can tell he got
ready.
stuck. He said he wanted to throw it in the dirt at his feet, but then he also kind of tried to throw it too, but it was too late. He was like, "Oh crap!" Like I threw. I get it, but I could tell it was that type of throw, though. He's right. I mean, he's definitely not lying, because it looked like that.
And Christian Gray was right there, like I said he would be.
Right.
Gray
and that's how Drew Aller isn't quite ready, right? Both the play and the way he responded being asked about the play tell you he's not quite ready for the next level. He's right to come back. If he comes back, I think he's making the right decision.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure they'll ask him about that in the presser. I mean, he's not gonna. I mean, he already announced he's coming back, so he probably just say, I've already talked about that, but whatever, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I get it. Yeah, I'm very sad about that. I want
and the Notre Dame offensive line is not going to be draft eligible this year. I'm afraid to tell you there, Mr. Bill. Tosh Baker's the only senior on that offensive line.
Right.
And so you look for them in 2026 in the draft.
Well, now some of those guys are 3 years removed from their high school graduation, Greg, just to explain to you how it might work.
I know, but they're not going to be out in this year's draft. They're just not. They're not coming out.
No, I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying that they might have some things to consider. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I like Wagner a lot too.
You don't have to go this way, but if I put something in this hand, maybe you go that way. Those kind of conversations do happen behind closed doors.
Oh, they most certainly do happen. Yes.
Listen, the NIL money will be split up evenly between the four boys, and they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
So we know one participant. We'll find out the other tomorrow night.
Yep.
Which is the better matchup for Notre Dame, in your opinion? Is it Ohio State? Is it Texas?
Well, the better matchup for what they want to do is playing Texas, right? Because Texas has showed they can give up some dash runs. I mean, once again, shout out to my friend Cam Scadaboo, who I've been following since his sophomore year at Sacramento State University, and huge fan of that guy going back, many years. And we've talked a little bit, he and I, about lots of things. He called me out for comparing him to only white running backs. So I did throw in some black running backs in my last. So hopefully I'll make this Skatable happy. But the fact is that as good as the interior of Texas offensive line and defensive line can be, we've also seen that they can be victimized, right? Let's again go back to Arizona State. Arizona State, which was supposed to be overmatched along the line. That was the storyline, right? The storyline was they're overmatched. They're missing Jordan Tyson, their best wide receiver. They're going to get banged on up front by the superior, the larger, the more talented Texas offensive and defensive line, particularly up the middle. And it didn't work out that way, right? They were able to hold up. Texas did not run the ball that well against Arizona State, and Arizona State ran the ball extremely well late in the game, particularly against Texas.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Notre Dame, I mean, you'll play whoever you take, but you've got to be looking at, if you look at the tape of both defenses, you've got to be thinking, oh, yeah, we wouldn't mind playing those guys from Austin. Looks like they don't like tackling quite as much as the guys from Ohio State like to tackle. So if I'm Notre Dame, that's who I'm looking at and thinking, oh, yeah, I think we can do some business against those guys.
What about you, Greg?
Absolutely. It's got to be Texas because, again, the Notre Dame defense will limit Texas's running ability just out of sheer necessity. And again, you've got Gray and Moore in that corner backfield of Notre Dame's, and if they turn that ball over, Riley Leonard has a shorter field. All of those things that can happen, that have happened for Notre Dame this year, would happen against Texas.
What about you, Don?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I'd rather play Texas for sure. Just because, I mean, for me, it kind of comes down to the same thing I talked about tonight. I mean, I would say that out of all the, I mean, I like Will Howard and Quinn Ewers, obviously. I think Quinn's more talented, but if it comes down to a game like that, I could see Quinn making that type of throw too. They kind of play the same way. I don't think Will Howard would be put in a situation to maybe make that throw, honestly, because I just think Ohio State's better than everybody else in the playoffs, so it might not come down to that. But if it does, I mean, I don't think Will Howard would make that throw. He's not really a risky quarterback like that. I know he hasn't had the best plays at times, but he doesn't really turn the ball over too much. I know he's not the best quarterback ever, but he's a pretty good quarterback. And those receivers are just nasty. And that's another thing too, I guess, is the receivers, because Penn State has no receivers, literally no catches. Georgia receivers can't catch. Most drops in FBS. That's who Notre Dame's played. So, I mean, good luck trying to play that and then play Jeremiah Smith and Abuka and Cardinal Tate, because that's a totally different ball game. And that's what it's going to come down to if they have to play Ohio State. I mean, obviously Texas has good receivers too, but it's levels to it. And Texas team receivers are good, but not as good as Ohio State. So, I mean, I think, yeah, I'd definitely rather play Texas for sure. And they just turn the ball over more. And Notre Dame gets turnovers. That's how they win games.
Looking at the history, one might lean Ohio State may be the better matchup, because these two teams played to, what was it, a 10-7 game last year? And that's when they had Marvin Harrison. So one would think they match up better with Ohio State. But being that they just took out Georgia, who dominated Texas twice, it may be Texas. Maybe Texas has a problem with physical teams. So they definitely capitalize on mistakes.
Yeah.
Sark's teams makes mistakes. We saw that last week. It's going to be a real interesting matchup, whoever they get. I'm leaning like you guys. I'm starting to lean more towards the Texas, but I don't think they are a big mismatch versus Ohio State either. I think we saw Michigan go out there and play the kind of game Notre Dame plays and beat them. So, I think that's something that Ohio State has a bit of a weakness for too.
If Riley Mills was still out there for Notre Dame, then yes, I could say you could match up a little bit better against Ohio State's offensive line. But without Mills, I don't know, because I mean that's not going to be Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham that Henderson and Judkins are going to run in at. That's why I have Texas as being the team that Notre Dame should play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like that, Jeff. I like another thing too is, I mean, we just watched Riley Leonard turn the ball over, but they still were able to win and just claw because they're not really a team that's just going to go 5 wide, 4 wide and throw. Because I think Texas strengthened their defense to me, outside of Colin Simmons, rushing the quarterback as their secondary, getting turnovers. But I mean, Notre Dame show you kind of tonight they can just kind of throw a couple picks there and still be able to fight and claw and stay in the game because they're so good in the trenches. They make up for it, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I could see Riley Leonard throwing like 3 picks and them still winning one of these games just because, like, they're always in it. Like, they don't get blown out.
Okay, but that's enough talk about picks and Riley Leonard. Okay, that's enough.
Okay, no, I mean, okay, that's true.
Well, he evened it out, Greg. He didn't throw for 2 TDs, but he ran for 1 and threw for 1. So he had 2 and 2.
That's right.
So he evened it out.
He evened it
Yeah,
out.
he made big plays too, though. So he was able to make those big plays downfield, and he outplayed Drew Alley.
He did. He made some smart plays. That that one third down where he looked like he was going to run. At the last second, he pulls up and throws it to Great House.
Yeah, and their OC is just amazing, dude. Like, he's a better play caller too than the Penn State OC. Like, he's one of the best in the business.
Mr. Denbrock.
Denbrock, Mike Denbrock, coming from LSU to Notre Dame. He's just he's great, man. What being able to just change, flip it like that. What a different type of. I mean, having BTJ, Neighbors, and Jaden Daniels last year, and then going to Notre Dame, taking them to the Natty. With that offense, a lot different than that offense he had last year. So, got to give him credit and that whole staff, like I said. So, yeah, I would say Texas still. I just think they turn the ball over and they do struggle with physical teams. They're better at like an air raid. Like if they played Oregon or something, if they were still in, they would, be in a better matchup. But they're better with the air raid type teams. They struggle with the physical teams for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
My only concern with Denbrock is not enough downhill running with his runners. He has a downhill runner in Price, and he runs them sideways like he does, does Love. I think you got to let sometimes the guys put them in pistol if you don't want to put them under center, and let them go forward. Let these guys go forward. You have some forward runners, and they're all getting the ball sideways. That's the one mistake that I feel that he makes. You have a line that I believe can move people going forward.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Yeah. So I know we have on our crawl 3-0 versus the Big Ten, 2-0 versus the SEC. What we didn't put up there was 1-1 versus the MAC.
I put up his comment.
There it is.
Yeah,
1-1 versus the MAC.
That's fine. That's fine.
Well, I mean, I'm just shouting out Thomas Hammock, and it's funny because we all talked about like what does Notre Dame do well, and while we can sort of, I guess, write off or whatever you would say, it was early in the season, September 7th, blah blah blah. 4 sacks.
Shout out to my birthday, by the way, Bill.
4 sacks from the Huskies. They weren't getting blown off the ball. This offensive line has come a long way since that offensive line that I saw play against those very, very, very motivated Northern Illinois Huskies, and because it wasn't a fluky win at all. It wasn't like they won with a bunch of trick plays or it
was grinded out football. Yeah.
Yep. It was they out Notre Dame the way that Notre Dame's people basically. Yes. And so shout out to Thomas Hammock and his team for playing better than Notre Dame at Notre Dame's own game. But Notre Dame has evolved since then. And shout out to the coaching staff. Marcus Freeman is one of my favorite coaches at any level of football. I am such a fan of his. And it put me in a bind because I'd always sort of rooted against Notre Dame, but now I can't because I love Marcus Freeman so much. But
yeah, I feel that.
Yeah,
it's a convert. We got another convert, Jeff. We have a new convert. We've got one.
I have been a huge fan of Marcus Freeman since the very beginning of his coaching career. Before he even was a D coordinator, he was a fantastic linebackers coach. I just thought that he was going to be a big-time coach at some point in his career, and I love being right. So that helps me to cushion the blow of not disliking Notre Dame as actively as I once did. He's made Notre Dame likable, which I would have thought unthinkable because Charlie Weiss and Brian Kelly stoked the fire, right? I was like, oh my God. I mean, I was really able to work up a good solid.
Please don't remind me of Charlie Weiss. Don't do that.
Who made Notre Dame more obnoxious? Those two or Ty Willingham?
Ty Willingham did.
They weren't obnoxious under Ty Willingham. They were just beatable. But
yeah,
I still think Ty Willingham deserved at least one more year. I mean, they gave Weiss more time, and Weiss had a worse win-loss record. That bothered me.
Weiss was nicer to the boosters.
Yeah, Willingham was a disaster for Notre Dame fans, though. So I would say for them, it was way worse.
Yeah, he didn't get along with the boosters.
Yeah,
you can't ruffle the money.
That just they don't even talk about him. Like,
no, they did not.
They hate him.
But once again, go back and look at the record. He actually had a better win-loss record than Charlie Weiss. So if you're going to give Weiss one more year, I still think they should have. Whatever. The point is
Charlie Weiss was so bad that he had Paul Horning saying racist comments. I mean, I'll never forget that. It was Paul Horning when I was like, we need to harness the black athlete. We need to drop these academic standards to harness the black athlete. Black athletes aren't smart. I mean, come on.
Oh boy, man. Oh man.
But Horning was suffering already from
dementia.
Yeah, he had a little bit of dementia. But he wasn't completely wrong. I mean, like I understood he was wrong about the fact that black people aren't smart, but he was right about the fact that they kept throwing the ball down the field whose guys whose names ended in a bunch of hard consonants, right? A lot of C's and Z's and K's in their names. And once again, not that white people can't be fast, but if all of them, right, it wasn't like they mixed it up. They were all guys with names like Samardzija and Skoranek. And so at some point, if everybody
Ben Koyak,
right, if everyone's name is in hard consonants, you're going to be a slightly easier team to cover down the field. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Although I will say
the
problem with Samardzija was he wanted to be a pitcher instead of a receiver.
Yeah, he was really good. Well, that was the best receiver.
He wasn't wrong. He made a lot of money. He made so much money.
I got to interview one of the former Notre Dame quarterbacks, Dane Christ, and I'll say he loves Charlie. He calls him Uncle Charlie. That's what he called him, not me.
Oh, he was good. He was good to his players.
Dane, I know you guys remember Dane Christ. I know Notre Dame fans don't love him, but he's great. He does a lot for South Bend. He goes back to a lot of games. He's a good guy. I like Dan. He was a good interview.
There was nothing wrong with Dan Christ. It was just the entire philosophy that Notre Dame had still was run the football, and don't ever get a cornerback and don't ever get a quarterback that can actually play in these games. I mean,
I won't tell Dane that since he played quarterback, but
but Dane. He was fine. He came around when they were looking for pocket passers. Exactly. But everybody had gone spread, and they had gone with guys that can move around and run zone read and be dangerous. And we had Dane Christ going, oh, shoot, here comes that end. So, it was like I felt bad for him.
Jeff, I didn't know you were a Notre Dame fan too, Jeff.
Yeah, well, I keep my team affiliation close to the vest so people don't ever say I'm biased. So,
well, I need to try to hit up Mr. Chris and try to get him and you and Greg on the show, dude. Yeah.
By all means,
absolutely.
We welcome everybody.
It's been a while.
Even Urban Meyer.
I don't know. If he was still hanging out at the bars in Jack's Beach, I might run into him because I live in Jack's Beach.
There you go.
Yeah, he's not out partying at Surfer and the Bricks bars and all that, so I won't see him. But Dane is, I might see him out. He's out in L.A. He's private wealth manager now. He's doing something big. Yep. Yeah, but I talked to him and he was just like, yeah, I know he's hella happy right now with because he loves Riley Leonard. For sure. But he was really happy when they got him. But yeah, that's tough. That's he had a tough career, I know, but that win tonight for Notre Dame, I'm happy for you guys, man. I'm not gonna lie, like I don't like Notre Dame either, but Marcus Freeman, and I liked Charlie Weiss because, and I always liked Notre Dame because they got a lot of Southern California guys. Like you guys got Dane, he's from Sherman Oaks, and Jimmy, and you guys got a lot of guys from California. It's always like that, and I always liked Brady Quinn. There was a bunch of Notre Dame players I liked.
Yeah,
And
Bill
knows if you play tight in Notre Dame, I'm gonna rock with you during draft season. So.
That's true. I'm telling you, every couple of years he falls in love with a new Notre Dame tight end. Yeah.
Listen, I was all in on Tommy Tremble. People go, no, he barely played. I said, trust me, Tommy Tremble's going to fit just in the NFL, and he's doing just fine in Carolina. They love him.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, that was one that I wasn't as high on, but yeah, he is doing good. My boy Alizé, he played at
Alizé Mack was a good one. Yeah, I got to see him a little when he was down here in the XFL.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I saw him at Gorman in high school. I covered a couple of his games. When Nico Fertitta too, who was his teammate for a little bit at Notre Dame. So, but Nico, I know had no business playing football at Notre Dame, but when your dad owns the UFC, you know what I mean, and your uncle owns the Houston Rockets, you can do that.
I mean, he should have been playing ball at Dartmouth or Bucknell or something.
No, I remember Bill telling me that.
Yeah,
he was like, Nico Fertitta's going to Notre Dame. I was like, yeah, dude.
He was more deserving than Collinsworth.
I mean, that's not saying much, but yeah. Nico wasn't a bad player though. He was just, he
was a good player.
He was like 5'8", playing safety.
He was a good player.
I liked him just fine, but he was an FCS level prospect.
Yeah,
but he was a good FCS level prospect. But yeah, he was an FCS level prospect.
Sometimes you get into a program where you just don't stand out as much. It happens.
Right. Trust me, I know. I was a end of the bench type walk-on player, so I know exactly what that's like.
Shout out Nico too. He's the safety coach at UNLV under Coach Mullen. So shout out Nico.
Okay.
Yeah. He's still doing stuff now. He's coaching, but yeah, man, I like the Notre Dame tight ends. But yeah, like I said, I'm happy for Notre Dame. Coach Freeman, that staff, what they've done. Hats off, congratulations. I tried to get that Marcus Freeman hairline, but
man, listen, at least you still have a hairline.
Okay? I do, but I don't. I do not for long, but I do. I'm trying to get that Marcus Freeman hairline, best hairline in the game. Him and Jason.
He
Tatum.
does. He has the best hairline.
And then Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum too. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah,
it's close.
I had no idea that when they were talking about Freeman when he was at Cincinnati, and I'm like, I know that face from somewhere, but it looks different. And it just shows how much weight he lost from when he was playing. Yeah. So when I remember him going through the draft process and all that stuff, I said, okay, this is a little husky guy. And then I see him over there coaching with Cincinnati, and they're like, oh, Marcus Freeman. And I'm like, is that the same Marcus Freeman I used to see him playing linebacker?
Yep.
He played for the Bears, right? Did he play for the Bears? Chicago
for
Bears?
A hot second, yeah.
I think he had a cup of coffee with those guys.
Yeah, I know he had an enlarged heart, but I don't know.
Special. He did some special teams, a little bit of special team stuff, but he had a very short NFL career.
I'm happy he got that job, man. I didn't really hear a fuss about it. Most people were happy. I feel like when he got hired, it seemed like there was a good transition. I know some people wanted Tommy Rees to be the head coach, but
that's one I'm glad they didn't do.
Yeah, I know that one. I have a friend that's a Notre Dame fan that didn't want Marcus Freeman. He wanted Tommy Rees. I do remember. I got to call him out now.
Yeah,
I'm not calling him out on here, but I'm gonna text him and be like, "Hey, Marcus Freeman was better hire than Tommy Rees would have been." I don't think Tommy Rees would have been.
I didn't want Tommy Rees as their coordinator.
Exactly.
Hey, Tommy Rees is homegrown though. You didn't like him?
Yeah.
No.
And he's from LA too, by the way. See, all your quarterbacks from LA, man. Bunch of LA guys.
Well, we like the California guys. They stay on that coast.
Yeah. He was up and down for sure.
Wasn't Drew Pine from out west too?
Yep.
Yeah, he was.
From out west.
Drew Pine. And I know Tommy Rees grew up in Chicago, but he's still probably got or he's from like Lake Forest, whatever.
The suburbs, the suburbs.
Yeah.
See, I'm a hard
All-American, right?
Ian Book's from California.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, don't mention me.
Dude, I liked Ian Book a lot. Hey, Ian Book's still in the NFL, man. Y'all
He's
gotta
in the
chill
NFL.
out. He's on the Eagles, yeah.
Yep. he's in the NFL.
Which is another team that Jeff and I just don't like. So don't talk about Ian Book, okay?
Well, listen, we can talk about him. I just,
Ian Book, Ian Book got a Super Bowl ring last year with the Chiefs, though.
he did.
Yes, he did.
He did.
He might get luck this year with Philadelphia. He might be a good luck charm.
Yeah.
First Notre Dame quarterback with a Super Bowl ring since Mr. Montana.
Correct. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
course,
so when I say I didn't like Notre Dame, that's just
no. Correction.
who else won one?
Burline.
Oh, that's right, Steve Burline. That's right. Yeah,
Burline won with Dallas
When
after
did
Montana.
Burline-
Dallas.
after Montana, he was the backup in '95. That's right,
In 92.
or '92. Sorry, yeah, '92. Yeah,
What a
'92.
pool. What a pool.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
And the
The
next,
next time San Francisco won in 94, Joe was already in Kansas City.
that's right.
Right.
Yep. And James Flanagan is the next tight end that you want to follow along for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Just so you know, Don.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of him. I've heard of him before. I got it.
Yeah, he's a big boy out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. He's a
gotta
big
say,
boy.
I'm locking in tonight, man. I'm watching tape. I gotta look at what Malik Zaire saying on Facebook, man. He's going off. He's happy right now.
Yeah, he should be. He should be.
That's
He was
another
there
one of my
for the
favorite
meantime.
quarterbacks from Notre Dame was Malik. I love Malik Zaire. I was a big Malik.
You want to know something? I felt bad for the kid because he was there when Numbnuts was there. Now that he's in LSU, I'm so happy. But
You got to give Coach Kelly a little credit for some of these guys on the team, though, right?
no, he was a good recruiter. The problem
Okay,
that I had with Brian Kelly is that Brian Kelly had no way to talk to these guys. So especially the quarterback, it was hard on those guys for no damn reason. And you think about the best quarterback during his tenure was Kaiser.
We just talked about that. Yeah, it was.
And he chased Kaiser off, and then he chases him off, and then throws the bus over him as he's leaving. You know, it was just like, dude, you just can't be happy for these guys for 1 minute. You can't back these guys up for 2 minutes. You know, it's like they come off the field, they berate them after every drive. It was just like, dude, when are you actually going to coach and stop yelling at the guys? So that was my problem with Brian Kelly was, you know, the last couple of years he's tried to be a little more relatable, but you're going to earn, you know, what you work, you know. So I think the difference you're seeing now in the coaching is the guy's actually relatable. You know, the players lobby to get him hired, you know. So I think you have a guy that not only owns the locker room, but he owns the culture of the program.
Right.
There was a problem I had with Brian Kelly was that he may have owned the locker room, but he didn't own the culture. Those guys didn't always buy in. They were there because it was Notre Dame.
Well, what I said earlier, Jeff, was the fact that Brian Kelly no longer has them going to mass before a game.
Yeah.
Are you what kind of nonsense is this? This is Notre Dame. You go to the Basilica, you walk out, and you walk into that stadium together. That's it.
No, yeah. I mean, I agree with that. Yeah.
And next year we got a couple of former NFL players coming in as wide receivers too. Elijah Burris and Mr. Bettis are both going to be playing wide receiver for the Fighting Irish.
You already have one there now in Clark.
Yep.
He played good tonight too.
Yeah, he's been playing good this whole playoff run.
He really
Yep.
has. Yeah. And by the way, I got to watch Jerome Bettis Jr. In person. He's solid, man. He's a solid receiver. He's good. I watched him play versus Julian Lewis earlier this season in person. He's a really good receiver. I mean, he's not going to be like your number one guy, but he's a good receiver. Really good special team player too.
That's what I was about to say. He's a very good punt returner, isn't he?
Yeah. Good punt returner. The little gunner action too. So
Yeah.
he's a good player. he plays defense too. Obviously, he's gonna play receiver in Notre Dame, but yeah, he's pretty solid safety too. So yeah, he's good. I haven't seen Plaxico's son, but
Now that's a feel old moment for me.
Man, I've already had those moments.
man, mine is and I'm younger than you guys, but mine is clearly because I'm doing Chris Henry Jr. at Mater Dei. He's going to Ohio State. That's mine clearly because that one is just insane. Because Henry,
Yeah.
I mean, rest in peace,
Rest in
obviously, but he was. I mean, I remember his whole career pretty much.
Yep, from West Virginia onward. Yeah.
And his son, I mean, when Bill Googled a picture of him when I was talking about him, he's like, oh my God, he looks just like him. Like,
He does. It was frightening how much. I mean, genetics are a thing. I get that, but it was like having watched Chris Henry develop. It was like going back in time and seeing 18-year-old Chris Henry. I mean, Chris Henry Sr. It was eerie how much he looked like his dad. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and Chris, I interviewed him, dude. He's so young. Like he doesn't even really remember his dad that much because he was so young when he passed away. It was kind of. I asked him questions. He's like, he was like 3, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
2.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Chris is.
He was 2 or 3. Was 2 or 3?
Yeah. Chris
He was
is 17 years old. So
yeah.
I mean,
I felt that way several times already. The first time was when Clay Matthews came in. I was just like, I remember his dad.
Yep.
And then it was okay. I watched Emmett at Florida. I watched him in the NFL.
Yep.
And then to turn around and watch EJ, I was like, I'm getting old, man.
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison Jr. was another getting old moment.
oh yeah, Marvin for sure.
I said, "Oh my goodness, jeez."
Did you see their 2 seasons? Their rookie season?
That's crazy.
It
Guys,
was just
well, I'm telling you, there's a lot of kids coming up doing recruiting that you're about to see. It's just like you're talking about Jerome Bettis. I know Bill's a Steelers fan, so yeah, I mean his son, and it's about to be a lot. There's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Thaddeus Moss too at LSU. That was another one that was kind of.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, I don't remember Randy Moss from college because I'm a little too young.
I remember
him, but
I couldn't forget that.
I remember Randy Moss tour across America, getting into fights, getting popped with weed in his bag, and all kinds of stuff.
When did Randy go to Marshall?
He went eventually to Marshall, but he
Yeah,
committed
what
at
years?
one point to Notre Dame. He committed at one point to Florida State. He committed at one point to
97 and 98 were Moss's 2 seasons at Marshall.
Yep.
I mean, I was born in '91, so yeah, that's why I don't remember.
And then, of course, it turned into a nightmare because of Michael Irvin's nonsense in Dallas, and Jerry couldn't draft Randy Moss, and it's just like, oh no! And what does he do against us?
3
Torched
catches.
us. Yeah.
Yeah. He made poor Kevin Mathis in Pup Smith's life hell when he played against Dallas
with just 3 catches. With just three catches. I mean,
he made Deion pull a hamstring.
Yeah.
It was a good idea to pull your hamstring when you saw Randy on the schedule. Yeah, that's a good time to have your hamstring.
And speaking of sons that just got offered, and then Brian Kelly just offered Gunnar Rivers, Phillip Rivers' son.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Today.
Yeah.
So kind of just a segue, or not segue, but bring that full circle with.
Well,
Brian
I mean,
Kelly.
there's going to be a bunch of Rivers children, right? I mean,
yeah.
Well,
that's just the first.
Look how many McCaffreys there were. It was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I remember Ed.
Oh, those are my boys, man. I know. Yeah, those got Luke and Dylan. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had one of those guys on your show, right, Bill? We had Dylan.
Yeah, we had Dylan on.
Dylan
McCaffrey when he was at Valor Christian. Yeah.
At Valor Christian. Yep. And now his dad's at Northern Colorado.
Yeah. Hey, Valor Christian's hiring for an OC right now. So if you know anybody in Colorado.
Shout out to Ben Albright, but he's probably a little too busy to try to pull double duty there.
He's big time now.
Yeah, I know. Formerly, one of my former co-hosts. See, become my co-host. It's worked out really well for a lot of people. I'll just put it that way. My co-hosts have done well for themselves. That was my OG co-host, Ben Albright, way back in the day.
Is Dylan still at Northern Colorado, or is he done? Was that his last year?
He hasn't any more eligibility left. Yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
He may have joined the coaching staff. I don't know. I have to check, but yeah, he's not. He's done playing. He's on the coaching staff. He's on the coaching staff. Right, he's on the coaching staff. Right. Yeah. I figured as much. But yeah, he's there as a coach now, and he'll become a.
I forgot about Max too. Max is the oldest.
Yes, Max as well. The Duke. No.
Yeah.
Wait.
Duke receiver.
Yep, Duke. Okay, I thought so.
Yeah. Duke and.
I know at one point one of the McCaffreys was talking about transferring maybe to Northwestern, but I don't think it ever happened.
No.
But I know Northwestern at one point thought they were getting one of the older McCaffrey boys. But yes, thank you for making us all feel old once again with that.
I'm feeling old too, though. I told you. I mean, I know I'm not that old, but I'm starting to. I mean, these kids, they call me old. They call me Unc. I'm like, dude, I'm not that old.
Listen,
I mean, I always ask.
I get reminded I'm old every day. My
ask
knees, my Achilles, my shoulders.
I ask the kids what's their favorite Super Bowl, man. That's always the question that makes me feel old because, I mean, they're starting to say. I mean, the kid I interviewed last week said his favorite Super Bowl was his first memory of the Super Bowl. Sorry, not favorite. First memory of the Super Bowl was the Patriots when they beat the Rams. That was like 2 years ago to me. I know it wasn't literally 2 years ago, but
it was very recent. Yeah,
that was what, like 7? Was that 7 years ago?
Yeah, okay. I won't talk about the Cowboys losing to the Baltimore Colts in Super Bowl V.
Jim O'Brien's kick.
That's my first memory.
Yep.
Yeah, Patriots.
So what was your first Super Bowl memory?
Patriots Rams was 2019, so it was 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Bill, what was your first Super Bowl memory?
Same one. 5 in 1971. Jim O'Brien with that kick to send Dallas to. And then I remember the NFL films used to do a recap of each team, right? All 3 teams, and it was called Next Year's Champions. Remember that one?
Yes.
Next Year's Champions, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes. There was always there was next year's champions, and then of course they did the one that said America's team, and the rest is history.
Oh, but the Cowboys did become the next year's champions.
They did.
They beat the Miami Dolphins 24-3 with Zonka and Warfield and all those guys in that backfield and Greasy and all those clowns. And then the next year was the year the next year when Miami went unbeaten.
Yep.
I was really PO'd with the way that the Cowboys played against Washington. And they just sucked that day. They absolutely sucked that day because Miami, as soon as they knew it was Washington that they were playing, they said, yeah, it's all ours. And it was right because they didn't have to play the doomsday defense again.
Yeah. And Manny Fernandez, when I think about people who he maybe not a Hall of Famer, but he was one of the most dominant for a short period of time, one of the most dominant interior players. If you're too young to remember Manny Fernandez, go watch some of Manny Fernandez. He was probably 245.
Well, I think he was only 240. I think he was only 240.
Yeah, he was maybe 245 at the most. Probably right around 6 feet tall at the most, but unblockable. I mean, he destroyed Washington.
He was the Dolphins' best player against the Cowboys in the 24-3 defeat. He was the Dolphins'
best player in a lot of games. And once again, speaking of feel old, anyone below a certain age have no idea what I'm talking about now. But go on the YouTube, kids, and watch Manny Fernandez. For about a 4 or 5 year stretch, he was the most disruptive interior player in all of football.
Yeah,
and he just had a short career. But there was a couple of guys on that Miami Dolphins defense that they'll never make the Hall of Fame. But Jake Scott was another guy, had a very short, incredibly dominant Now, I think he actually spent a little time in Vietnam or something because he always was an older player, and I think he had been an
Yes, he
ROTC.
did. He was in Vietnam. He was at the same time that Blyer was there.
Yep, I thought so. So he missed a little time. So his career began at like 24, 25.
Yeah.
But for about a 5 or 6 year stretch, I think he was the best all around safety in the league. No offense to the terrific safeties Dallas had, but Dallas's safeties tended to be good at one thing or the other. Scott could play the deep middle. He could come up to the line of scrimmage. He would be a star probably nowadays, right, as opposed to a true safety, because you want to get him involved in the action as much as possible. But he could catch the ball.
He
really good hands.
There's another player of today who he reminds me of, and that's I think he played at Notre Dame as well, but not the same size. Kyle Hamilton.
Hamilton. Oh yeah,
yeah.
Not a bad one either.
Yep.
I thought you were going Harrison Smith for a moment there, but yeah.
No. See, I don't touch anything that's Skull. I don't like them. Period. I had a picture today on Twitter of the 32-14 drubbing that the Raiders put on the Vikings, and I was going to send it up in the DM chat room and say, okay, go and send that to Steve.
Yeah, see, I don't remember. Like I remember seeing all the NFL films on the Dolphins teams in the early and mid '70s. I didn't see those guys live. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I don't remember Dolphins players live until Marino and AJ doing it.
Yeah. Well, the thing that sticks with me is the only member of their defense who made the Hall of Fame was Nick Bonacani. And once again, Nick Bonacani was a very, 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 very good player, but he wasn't the most impactful player on their defense.
No.
So that always kind of stuck in my craw that he's the only Hall of Famer off that bunch. You know,
the no-name defense, yeah.
And I mean, admittedly, they weren't the sexiest bunch. They played a lot of what they did was meant to keep the play in front of you, right? We talked about this break. But they also had the ability when they wanted to really get after your butt. They could really, I mean, once again, ask Billy Kilmer about that. I'm sure he still wakes up screaming.
Oh, the beating that they put on the Deadskins that day was beautiful. Only beaten by the beating that the Raiders put on them a few years later down the line, which was even more fun.
So, which one do you say was better, the Over the Hill gang or the no-name defense?
Well, in terms of like defense, the better defense was the no-name defense. They could just strangle you to death.
Yeah.
So because they had this unblockable demon in Manny Fernandez. Once again, if you remember him, go pull up some tape. There was a stretch, despite being a smaller D lineman, he would destroy double teams, destroy 240, maybe 245 pounds, maybe less, destroy double teams. Yep. Like, how is this possible? How is a guy that size? And once again, I'm not calling him Aaron Donald. Okay, he's not Aaron Charles Donald. I'm not going that far with it. But for a short period of time, he created the same kind of havoc on the interior of a defense. Now, he didn't get as many sacks because, frankly, he couldn't throw the ball as much in those days. So he didn't get a chance for as many sacks. But he'd have games where he'd have 2.5. Of course, the sack was even an official statistic in those days. But he'd have games, especially key games, he'd have 2.5 sacks, right? After being a guy that was mostly known for stopping the run, as soon as they stopped the run enough that you had to throw the football, now he could become a pass rusher. And he was a deadly interior pass rusher. And the rest of that line.
And that's how Bonacati ended up making the Hall of Fame, is because of the work that Manny Fernandez did in front of him.
Yeah.
Correct. I'm with you 100% on that.
Yeah.
But that's usually how the linebacker benefits. You know, a lot of those guys that get to eat, you know, have some big boys that eat up blocks in front of them. Ray Lewis was a great player, but he was a lot better when he had Saragusa and Sam Shade, Sam
Adams.
Sam Adams. In front of him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Those guys made his life a lot easier.
Yeah.
Right. Zach Thomas was another guy that benefited from the fact he always had very active and powerful interior players ahead of him that kept him clean.
Yes.
Last thing I'll say about this upcoming matchup that'll decide, obviously, who Notre Dame plays. Donovan mentioned that number 3, that Quinn Ewers will give you a chance, 1 or 2 chances to get the ball. he's not afraid to put the ball in harm's way. I'll be interested to see if they catch them, right? People make lots of jokes about, defensive backs having hands like feet or whatever it is. But I think if you are Ohio State's D-backs, spend some time with the jugs gun, right? Spend some time with the jugs gun because you're going to get some chances. Some of the balls are going to be available to you. Catch them. I believe if there'll be at least 2 opportunities for interceptions. If they catch both of them, I think they win. If they catch one of them, it'll still be a dogfight. If they catch none of them, they might lose. But if you catch both of them, that's a W.
And you both better get there early tomorrow because that snow is nasty in Dallas. It is ugly. So you're going to have to leave for that stadium a little earlier tomorrow, boys.
Right.
Well, speaking of early, it's time for us to get moving so we can be back here tomorrow night.
Yes, sir.
Don's actually off stage, so if he gets to come back on before we sign off.
There we go.
There it is. Wait a minute. There he is.
The most beautiful song in America.
I lost sound. I couldn't hear you.
The Fighting Irish Victory March.
Okay, that audio is a little choppy there.
It felt like something from the 1920s. Oh, well, that's why.
That was the chopped and screwed version of.
Yes, the chopped.
Yes. I thought you were going to play the after the touchdown song, the Gaelic rock song, dance song.
Yes,
they played.
right.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
The Victory March. That was a beautiful, beautiful sound tonight.
Listen, it's always great when your team is having that kind of success. It's been a long time for Irish fans.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time. Even when you made the national championship game versus Bama, it didn't have the same feel because you knew damn well they weren't going to beat Bama.
They were
Yeah.
going to get that was going to
I
be
knew
a
somebody. Yeah, I knew. I feel like somebody would have corrected me in the comments because I said the biggest game, but I know they played in the national championship, but this just feels like they have a shot because we knew damn well, like you just said, that
they weren't beating Bama. They couldn't stop Eddie Lacy if he laid down for him. I remember that.
Yeah, that wasn't happening. They have a chance.
They have a shot. They don't have a shot.
Yeah.
So
this is different. It feels different. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Don, before we go, let people know where they can find your work.
Yeah, man. Follow me on X at Don James Sports. The name remains the same. I got to stop saying Twitter because Elon Musk is not happy about that. So, I don't want to get my account suspended. You know what I mean, or anything. Go over to Jags Wire for all the Jags news and notes. Interviewing Ben Johnson on Saturday. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
But, I also just interviewed Davis Webb, which is insane. Me and Bill just talked about because he's 29 years old.
Yes. Right.
There's another coach available next Wednesday. Enjoy Mike McCarthy, okay? Just enjoy Mike McCarthy. You have fun with him, okay?
They are not hiring Mike McCarthy. He wouldn't come to Jacksonville anyway. But he's going straight to Chicago if he gets let go, which you guys shouldn't let him go. But
I don't think he gets out of the job, but he's going to have to negotiate with Jerry, and Jerry now has this incentive-based idea for a coach, which is unheard of, but okay.
They used to do it in the past, but they haven't done it in a long time because if you really want to pay, if you want your coach to pay, you're going to pay him the guaranteed money.
Well, that's why
he's trying to roll back the clock on paying coaches. That's all it is.
That's why he's not winning because he's old. He's too
non-modern. Before he was free with the money, so it's like his idea now is, I'm gonna make you earn it. You want it, I'm gonna make you earn it. but it don't work that way. You can't roll back the
No,
clock with these
you
guys.
can't.
But follow me there, and then Hoosier State of Mind.
Yep.
Obviously doing work over there for Fansided, and then like I said, just follow me over on X or formerly Twitter, all at Don James Sports. And then thank you guys for having me on both shows, the pre-show and the post-show. It was fun. I haven't talked ball on the podcast in a little bit, so it's fun to be on the show. And thank you, Jeff, Greg, Bill.
And
Always
you're still my number one guest, Don.
over Josh. Yeah, that's
You are
crazy.
still my number one guest because again, I don't have to send you any apologies on X or congratulations on X. I don't have to do any of that, which I had to do with Josh and Brock that day with the Ohio State Penn State game. So you're the number one guest.
I was like, why Brock? What did he win? Why does he get?
Well, Brock was all in on the Ohio State too.
Actually, shout out Brock because he won my fantasy football league. So
yes,
yeah, and then he's winning jobs and stuff. So that's good.
Yeah, well,
everything's coming up, Brock.
Yep.
He still owes me a shot when I go to Vegas though. So
well, you got to get out there quickly because Mr. Brock is moving to Los Angeles.
That's right.
That's better. That's better. That's where I'm from. Well, I'm from San Diego, but that's better.
Yeah.
I'll be out in San Diego.
See, there's another reason I knew why I liked you because you were close to the Marine Corps base.
Yes, MCRD.
Yeah,
my cousin used to be stationed out there.
My dad was in the Navy, but yeah, I mean, close.
Yeah,
they're same.
No, I don't. I got cursed out for saying that, dude. So I'm not. Saying that.
Yeah. No, the Navy part of San Diego is completely different from the Marine Corps part of San Diego.
Yes.
But shout out to my boys in Camp Pendleton. I had a good time out there. I almost got into a bar fight with those guys, man.
There you go. Now you've had the full experience.
They had my back. The Marine guys had my back. So and I was never in the military. So shout out to those. They were just drunk and trying to fight. So shout out to those guys. But,
correct. Yeah.
I used to tease one of my
the math works out on that. Yes.
Greg, I'm a Coronado Island guy. That's where I was, from. That's where I'm from. So yeah. But anyway, that's what I'm doing right now. Also, speaking of California, gotta shout out my people back home with the wildfires. Praying for everybody back home.
Oh man.
God bless.
Yeah, one of my best friends had to evacuate his home, so just praying for everybody back home.
My god brother Miles Avery, Map, who lived in North Hollywood, also had to evacuate. My friend Ronnie, who lives, what do you call it? He didn't have to evacuate. He's over there close to Marine. What do you call it? Santa Monica. He probably did not have to evacuate, but
man, that's always home to me. I'm not an LA guy, but I mean, still Southern California. I lived in West Hollywood. Bill knows that for a little bit.
Yep.
Craziest days of my life in West Hollywood.
Oh yeah,
Our guy George Lopez, his cousin, did lose his place in Altadena. It's completely gone. And of course, everybody who wanted to make that thing political when it happened, I have no time for you people, period. There is nothing political about this fire, folks. Nothing.
Don't tell people on X that.
Well, I did.
Oh, okay. That's good. I'm glad you did.
Well, it's an arid part of the world that is, highly densely populated. And once again, I'm not going to make it political, but there are certain things that shouldn't be a shock to you. When you take a place that, if not for man's intervention, would have been essentially a desert, and then cram millions of people onto it, eventually something's going to give.
But this fire was more shocking because it hit the suburban parts of Los Angeles. That is the scary part. When Altadena and Pacific Palisades went up, I was just like, "Holy Lord, this thing is ugly."
Yeah, that was. I mean, as a guy that lived through wildfires, man, I lived in Fallbrook, where my house almost burned down. I had to evacuate. And Temecula is where I'm really from, because that's where I went to high school. The Inland Empire, Riverside. Right. I mean, that's usually where the fires are, but for that to be Pacific Palisades and Calabasas and Westlake Village, even hit up there, Thousand Oaks, that's not like a normal thing for people that know about Southern California, for sure. So
Right.
Nope.
So, but yeah, but thank you guys, man, always for letting me be on the show. And Greg, thank you for saying that, because I'm like, damn, I'm scared to post about. I posted something about on Instagram quickly about the fires, and I'm getting DMs about, well, you should have known, because don't. I'm like, dude, whoa, come on, man, chill out for a second.
Yeah, no, don't make. There's nothing political about a fire. There really isn't.
Somebody hit me with the "told you" show. Trump called this 3 months. I'm like, bro, I'm trying to shout out my family, dude. Chill out. Like, I mean, he might have been right. I don't even know, but chill. Like,
the problem with social media is, it gave you the ability to express your opinion. There's a lot of people that feel the need to express their opinion that they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So it's like, maybe you should keep that to yourself. No, you want to keep saying it. Yeah.
It's no different than when the internet first came out and we were still on the dial-up and the old message boards that they used to use.
Yeah.
When President Reagan died, the filth I was seeing out there, I mean, okay, no. You could disagree with that man politically all you want. He did his job as the president of the United States, and you leave that stuff alone. Don't go there. I mean, it's just utter craziness. And it's gotten that much worse. I mean,
it's gotten much worse. Yes.
Much. Sure.
You know.
Well, on that very unhappy note, we are going.
Shout out Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman, though. Happy birthday!
There we go. Thank you for turning it back around there, Donovan. It was a great game and a great night, and our thoughts and everything is with those people who, sadly, some people lost their lives, and many more people lost their homes, but I think we were reminded of something about grit and sustaining, right? This game, Notre Dame got thoroughly outplayed early on in this game, and you were shown something. One of the things that, I'm not one of those big Lombardi people, but Lombardi said a lot of things about the game of life, right? And how football is sort of like the game of life, in that you're going to get knocked down, you're going to get surprised, you're going to get all these things are going to also happen in life. There's going to be times when you're not the better man, right? When the other person's just bigger or stronger or faster. And you got to figure out a way to get through it. Well, you can't, quote unquote, beat Mother Nature, right? That's not a fight you can win. But we do know enough about Americans' spirit, Americans' grit or determination, or pick a term, that we're going to rebuild, right? All those things that were destroyed a few years from now, every bit of that will be something, right? It might be homes, it might be whatever, but it'll all be reclaimed and rebuilt. We are going to rise from the ashes, right? As somebody mentioned, like the Phoenix. And it's just in our character as a nation, right? It's in our character as a people to move forward no matter what happens. And, shout out to Notre Dame for having that same sort of grit and spirit and determination, because I'll be honest, I thought at one point I thought if Penn State scored one more time, right? If they got down to 3 scores, that'd probably be it. But they didn't allow that to happen, right? They managed to stay in contact. And as pointed out, Mr. Angeli, just out there dinking and dunking, managed to get them back into it. So with that same sort of spirit, that same sort of belief, and once again, Angeli is just Italian for angel. Hopefully angels will also be visiting those that just have lost so much, and guide them back towards a victory, a big W when it's all over.
Absolutely.
Very well said.
Well,
and that is going to be,
as the shirt says, you are now witnessing greatness. We have witnessed greatness. If you're a Notre Dame fan, you are going to the national title game. Congratulations, Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. A great season overall. A great season overall for Penn State. You fell a little short, nothing to be ashamed of. Final Four. It's a great run. And a lot of people are going to beat James Franklin up over this, but
oh boy,
you're in the Final Four. You're top 4 teams in the nation. All the teams they said were better than you, for the most part, they're at home. Okay, so there's nothing to be ashamed of this run for James Franklin and company. And the same thing will be said about the 2 teams tomorrow night. Congrats to the winner. And it was a great year for the loser. It's there's nothing to be ashamed of getting to the semifinals, especially now that it's a 12-team playoff. So,
and we will be back here tomorrow night after the Ohio State and Texas game.
Yes,
we'll be back, And we'll be reviewing that game and then discussing the actual final. And then Saturday night, I'm hosting the Final Word at 10 p.m. Eastern. And the whole subject, it's going to be a beautiful one for all of you haters out there. It's all going to be Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, the Dallas Cowboys. That's right. We're going to discuss what needs to happen with the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be so much fun.
Well, I mean, an institutional colonic is what needs to happen, but I don't know if they have the determination and will to do that. But yes, I may have to check that out. That'll be interesting to see. Once again, Donovan, thank you so much for your talent, your time, and your attention. As always, your insights, particularly into recruitment and the development of these players that you've known many times since they were 14 or 15 years of age, is always greatly appreciated.
Yep. All right. Take care, everybody.
No problem, guys.